So I'm going to have a look at Surf Rider. It's off Pulp Fiction song. It's actually by a group called The Lively Ones. I'm going to go into close up and show you the bits of it. I'm also going to post in the description a tab version from the SONGSTERR site, which I've been using to play this one. Before I do that, just real quick, there's a couple of technique things that I just wanted to mention. The first one is the right hand or picking hand technique. I say right hand because I'm right-handed. You might have noticed I was using some palm muting then on playing that piece. It's played that way on the original. You can play it without the palm muting, but it tends to sound a little bit untidy if you do it that way. So just to start off with, so without any muting, the way that I played it with the palm muting. So it gives it the more authentic feel, and it also tidies the riff up a little bit. The second thing, you'll see it better in close-up, is the way that I've approached it using my fretting hand. The way I've played it is I've used my first finger to create a mini bar. I know bar chord is a bit scary, but I've made a mini bar across 3 strings, and I've chosen to do that because it stops me having to do a little bit of jumping around. I'll show you better in close-up, which I'm going to go into now. This is the intro of it, it's not the full song, so I'm going to cover basically the first 8 bars that you heard me play through, and then at the end I went into the chordy section, which is, I'll probably cover that in another video, but this is just that riff going down to, it's going to end on. So the first 8 bars of the song. It'll be useful if you've got access to the tab. I'll post this version of it. If you find the tab elsewhere, that's fine, use that. But it'll help you in reference, because I'm going to talk about each different bar as we go along. So I'm going to go into close-up and we'll have a go at the song. So to begin with, the first bar, I'm up in the 5th position, so I'm at fret 5 on the guitar here. My first note is going to be on my E string on my 5th fret. Then my next note is going to be my 7th fret on my D string. So those 2. After that, I'm going to play a hammer on my A string, my 5th fret on my A string to my 7th fret. And then finish finally the first bar with the 5th fret on my D string. Now, I mentioned briefly before in the start of the video, I was playing it using a mini bar because it seems to me to be a simpler way of playing it and a cleaner way of playing it. When I just did it then, I was playing each note, note per note, as if I was just reading it off the tab one note at a time without thinking about the overall bigger picture. If I use my first finger, I'll try and get my others out of the way, just so you can see it, to make a little bar there on my 5th fret. So this finger is just going to make a little bar chord across the 6th, 5th and 4th strings, these 3 strings. And I'm going to keep that on whilst I'm playing the riff. Hopefully you'll be able to see on the footage why I'm doing that, because it means that I'm shifting my fingers around a lot less, particularly when I come to the end of the riff. I play the same thing, keep my little bar on there. So with that bar in place, all I'm having to do is use, in this instance, a 3rd finger to use to fret the other notes. So rather than having to be shifting around, I know it's not a lot of shifting, but it'll make more sense in the second bar when I demonstrate that. So the first bar with my little mini bar method. The second bar of the piece is very similar, it's all the same notes, but I'm going to add a different ending note on the end of it. So I'm going to go my 5th fret on my E string, my 7th fret again on my D string, my little hammer on my A string, 5th to 7th fret. I'm going to play my 5th fret on my D string and then finish on the 5th fret of my E string. And that's where my little bar comes in super useful, because if I wasn't to use my little bar, then what I'd be doing at the end of the second bar of music would be having to get from that note to that note. So if I was playing it just one note at a time, I'll do it now. You can see I've got to make a little jump from here to here at the end of the second bar of music. Can you see the jump there? So without them in my bar, I'm having to make that little jump. So by using my little bar method, I've got all those notes covered, so I don't have to make that jump. Because I've got the notes covered already. If you're not comfortable doing the bar, obviously do it whichever way works for you. That's my advice, is to do it with the bar. Now, moving on from there, that's the first 2 bars of the intro. There's 8 bars in the intro, so we've learnt a quarter of it already. The good news is, the next 4 bars are exactly the same thing, but played in a different position. So all I'm going to do is play that same 2-bar riff that I've just played. I'm going to move that down to my 3rd position. And then I'm going to move that down to my 1st position. So once we've mastered it in the 1st position, in the 5th position there where we started, try and practice that, get that nice and clean, and all we're going to do is move that same pattern down 2 frets at a time, and that covers the first 6 bars of this 8-bar intro. So once we get to there, we're actually 3/4 of the way through. So I'll play those first 6 bars from the 8-bar intro, and then the last 2 are something different and actually easier than this. So we're almost there. Now, once we've got that down, what we need to do is, before we jump into the last 2 bars, I said we're almost there. On this last position riff, we play the last note twice. So if you recall, on the first 2-bar position, I'm ending on that 5th fret on my E string. I move down, I'm ending on the 3rd fret on my E string. When I get down to the last position, when I finish up, I want to play that last note twice rather than once. So rather than doing that, I'll be playing it once, I'm just going to add the extra note on the end of that. So we've got 2 notes there at the end rather than 1 note. So I'll just play that through once again, that entire 6-bar, play it correctly with the 2 notes at the end. So we've got 2 bars to go, and it's really easy. The 7th bar, the next to the last bar, is only our open E string, so we don't have to fret anything. On the open E string for bar 7, we're going to play. So we've just got 6 notes there. We've got. So that should be straightforward to play. And then finally, again, consult the tab. It'll make a lot more sense to you. The final bar is a descending pattern. Well, it's almost a descending pattern. We start with 2 notes on our open E string. So, and then on our A string, we go down playing 2 notes at a time on the 5th fret, the 4th fret, and the 2nd fret. So that final bar of music, the 8th bar in this piece, is going to sound like. The final 2 bars played together. So, put it all together, play it as it is, and it should sound like this. And then we get into the chordy section, which I'm going to cover in a different video. I played everything a little bit slower than on the recording, just to make it a little bit easier to see what I'm doing. The song itself is at 140 BPM, which make it quite challenging, but as ever, start your metronome off a little bit slower, whatever you're comfortable with, and then just build it up to what you need to play. So 140 is probably more like. Sounds a bit more like the record. Again, even if you can't immediately get it up to the 140 to the song speed, it's a brilliant practice piece. You've got that challenge of doing a little bar. You've got a little bit of string skipping as well, so we've got some discipline for your picking hand. You've got to be accurate. As ever, accuracy and sounding clean is 10 times more important than playing fast. Playing fast will always come with time. Get it nice and clean and accurate with the practice. The palm muting, again, it's important to make it sound a little bit cleaner. Practice that. I've done another video, have a look for that if you're not sure what I mean by palm muting, but basically I'm using a fleshy bit on my picking hand to deaden the sound of the strings a little bit. It's about finding a balance, playing it openly without any muting. If I was to use full on pressure heavy metal muting, that's too much. It's finding a nice little balance in between. That'll come with experience. Don't worry if it doesn't happen straight away. As I say, I will post a link to the tab that I've used so that you can use it too, and that's on SONGSTERR. I've mentioned that site before. I will make another video for the chord section that follows this, so keep an eye out for that. It's a great practice piece, and as ever, you know what I'm going to say now. Enjoy.